2001, I was on pilgrimage in Italy, and one of our stops was Assisi, the birthplace of the Franciscan order. My wife had sprained her ankle the day before in Venice, and so when we got to Assisi, she didn't want to take the walk through the town, because what they do is they leave you off at the eastern end of the town at the Basilica of St. Clare, and then you walk through Assisi, and then you eventually arrive at the Basilica of St. Francis on the west end of the town. So she took a cab, the tour director arranged for her to have a cab, and I just started walking through Assisi with a group of people. And along the way, people would just break off and go shopping or go to an internet cafe. And I found myself alone walking on these cobblestone streets that date back to the 1100s, very, very ancient town. It's set up on the side of a hill, and I'm walking along on the streets, and all of a sudden I walk out into the central square of Assisi. And if you look to your left is the Po Valley, which is very, very scenic. And if I look to the right, it was the Cathedral of Assisi, where the Bishop of Assisi is. And it suddenly occurred to me that I was on the exact spot that Francis dedicated himself to following the Lord. Francis, his father, was very wealthy, and he could have inherited all that, but he chose instead, because of his prayer life, he decided to follow Jesus. And to do that, to Francis, meant to give up everything. So he stands in the square at Assisi, on the spot that I was standing, and he removes all of his clothing, strips naked, right? The Bishop of Assisi comes out, sees Francis, and Francis told him, he says, "I'm following Jesus." And Jesus was poor. Jesus had nothing. I have to do the same. The Bishop of Assisi takes off his cloak and places it over Francis, and then leads him into the cathedral and talks to Francis and finds out what his intentions are. And he senses that call that Francis has to religious life, and so he sends him to a Benedictine monastery. And within a few years, Francis had left the Benedictines and went out on his own, and very shortly, over 5,000 men were following Francis on this path to Jesus that involved giving up everything. Jesus calls us to do the same. The path to eternal life is a path that is not weighed down by material possessions, but is solely of our own intention of following Jesus. This Lent, let us ask the Lord for the grace and the strength to have that conviction of Francis, to have that conviction to leave everything behind to follow him. God bless.